There is a strange kind of loneliness that comes with growing up. It is not always the loneliness of having no one around. Sometimes you can be surrounded by people and still feel it. You can have conversation, answer messages, go to work, sit at a dinner table, laugh at something someone says, and still have this quiet feeling that something has changed. Someone you once talked to every day is now someone you barely speak to. Someone who used to know everything about you now only sees small pieces of your life. And sometimes there was no big argument, no dramatic ending, no final conversation where you both decided that the friendship was over. Life simply became different. And somehow, you became different too. Maybe that is one of the loneliest parts of growing up. Realizing that some people were meant to walk beside an earlier version of you. And when that version of you changes, the friendship changes with it. It can be difficult to accept. Because when we lose an old friendship, we are not only missing the person, we are often missing who we were when we were with them. The version of ourselves who laughed more easily. The person who stayed out late without worrying about tomorrow. The person who could call someone at midnight just to say something completely unimportant. The person who had inside jokes that made no sense to anyone else. Sometimes we miss the life that existed around the friendship, just as much as we miss the friend. And maybe that is why certain friendships are so difficult to let go of. They carry memories, places, old dreams, old versions of ourselves. They are almost like little rooms in our memory. And every now and then, we open the door. We remember. And for a moment, we are there again. Research actually gives us a comforting perspective on this. Friendships are not necessarily meant to stay exactly the same throughout our lives. Studies following people across adulthood have found that friendships can change in both their presence and their quality over time. People move, change jobs, form relationships, become parents, relocate, develop new interests, and go through experiences that reshape their priorities. Friendship itself is something that changes as life changes. And losing a friendship is also a very common human experience. A recent review of research on friendship dissolution describes friendship endings as something that happens across development, for many different reasons and in many different forms. So if you have experienced this, it does not mean something is wrong with you. You are not uniquely bad at keeping people. You are not necessarily difficult to love. You are not failing at adulthood because your circle looks different now. Sometimes people simply grow in different directions. And growing in different directions does not always mean that one person was wrong. It can simply mean that two people became different people. Maybe you used to have the same priorities. Now you don't. Maybe you used to understand each other without explaining much. Now every conversation feels like work. Maybe you still care about them. But the friendship no longer feels like home. And that can be one of the hardest things to admit. Because we are often taught to think of friendship in very permanent terms. Best friends forever. Always there for each other, friends since childhood. We celebrate the friendships that last for decades. and they are beautiful. But we don't talk as much about the friendships that were meaningful for 5 years, or 3 years, or one particular season of our lives. A friendship does not have to last forever to have mattered. Think about a book you once loved. You finished it. You placed it on a shelf. Years later, you might not read it again. But that does not make the story meaningless. It still changed something in you. Some friendships are like that. They were part of your story. They helped shape you. They gave you memories you will carry for the rest of your life. And then, quietly, the chapter ended. That does not erase the chapter. It simply means you are turning the page. And maybe the most painful part is that turning the page can feel like losing a piece of your identity. Because who are you without the people who knew you before you changed? Who are you without the group chats, the traditions, the familiar places, the people who knew your history? Growing up can sometimes feel like standing in the middle of a house you have lived in for years and slowly realizing that the furniture no longer fits. You are still you, but the space has changed. And so have you. There is something important to remember here. You do not have to become the person you used to be just to keep someone in your life. You are allowed to outgrow things. You are allowed to become quieter, more selective, more private, more intentional about who gets access to your time and your energy. You are allowed to discover that the things you once tolerated no longer feel, and you are allowed to want friendships that feel different now. Research on adult friendship consistently points toward the importance of friendship quality, not simply the number of people in your social circle. One long-term study found that positive friendship relationships over time were associated with better health later in life. So perhaps growing up is not really about having more people. Perhaps it is about slowly learning which connections feel nourishing, which conversations leave you feeling lighter, which people allow you to be yourself without performing, which friendships can survive your growth, and which ones were only able to survive the person you used to be. There may come a time when you realize your life has become quieter. The invitations are fewer. The messages are less frequent. Your weekends look different. At first, this can feel frightening. You might wonder if everyone else has moved on without you. You might scroll through old photos and wonder where those years went. You might see other people surrounded by friends and quietly ask yourself, what happened to me? If you have ever felt that way, be gentle with yourself. You are seeing a photograph of someone else's life. You are not seeing the quiet moments. You are not seeing their unanswered messages, their complicated friendships, their loneliness, their uncertainty. Everyone's social life has seasons that are invisible from the outside. And perhaps you are simply in a quieter season right now. That does not mean it will stay this way. People continue forming meaningful friendships throughout adulthood. Life transitions can create opportunities for new connections too. Research involving thousands of adults has found that both maintaining relationships and developing new ones can be associated with greater well-being. depending on where someone is in life. So there is no deadline for finding your people. You are not too old. You have not missed your chance. You do not have to recreate the friendships you had at 17, 25, or 30. The people you meet next may know a completely different version of you, and maybe that is a beautiful thing. They will not know the person you were before. They will meet the person you are becoming. There is something peaceful about that. No history to explain. No old expectations. No need to keep playing a role you have already outgrown. Just two people slowly discovering each other. And if you are currently grieving an old friendship, you do not have to rush yourself into acceptance. You can miss them. You can be grateful for what you had. You can wish things had worked out differently. You can still love someone from a distance. You can remember the good without pretending the friendship still belongs in your life. Those things can exist together. And maybe, instead of asking yourself, why couldn't we stay the same? You can gently ask, what did this friendship teach me? Maybe it taught you how to laugh. Maybe it taught you how to trust. Maybe it showed you what you need from people. Maybe it showed you what you will never accept again. Maybe it gave you a home during a difficult time. And maybe now you are learning how to become your own kind of home. So tonight, if you are thinking about someone you used to know very well, take a slow breath. Let the memory come. You do not have to push it away. Imagine placing that memory somewhere soft, like a photograph inside a drawer. You can keep it without living inside it. Let the room around you be quiet. Notice the weight of your body, the warmth of the blanket, the sound of the air around you. There is nothing you need to solve tonight. You do not need to figure out who your forever friends will be. You do not need to repair every friendship. You do not need to force yourself to stop missing people. Some things take time, and some endings remain tender for a while. That is okay. You are still becoming. And becoming can be lonely sometimes. But lonely does not mean lost. A smaller circle does not mean a smaller life. A friendship ending does not mean you are unlovable. And changing does not mean you have abandoned who you used to be. That older version of you is still somewhere inside you. You can thank them. You can carry the good things forward, and you can let the rest become part of the past. Maybe growing up is not about keeping everyone. Maybe it is about learning how to let people leave without letting their absence convince you that you are alone in the world. There are still conversations you have not had, places you have not been, people you have not met, versions of yourself you have not discovered yet. So for tonight, you do not need to know what comes next. Just rest. Let the night be quiet around you. Let your thoughts become a little softer. And remember that your life is still unfolding. Some people belong to the beginning of your story. Some belong to the middle. And some have not arrived yet. Wherever you are right now, I'm glad you made it here. Thank you for listening, liking, and commenting. please share Soul Planet with someone who you think may need it.